Serena is a short story where we meet a white-haired girl and, in turn, discover that she needs our blood to survive. Our blood, you say? Not sure who you mean by our, me, you watching, or anything like that. Link down in the description below where you'll be able to download this game for yourselves. It was a warm April morning. This is an April Fool's joke. All was relatively silent, like the calm before the storm, which was to happen in that jungle of steel and concrete. If you took enough time to admire the sky, you can feel the breeze gently caressing your face. In the air, birds were beginning to take their morning flight, and on the ground, cars were beginning to populate the cold asphalt. But that sort of triviality didn't matter now. Why, you might ask? Because in this city, a vampire dwells. In this life, nobody cared about that anymore. How comes, you say? Who would raise their gaze to watch the clouds sail over that blue sea? Wouldn't a Who would appreciate the warmth that the sun leaves on us? No, people no longer value any of that. What do they value then? They prefer to focus their attention on what is front of them and not look beyond. I would have said behind. Where is the magic of life then? Do all people end up consumed in this way? That was extremely frightening. No one would want to suffer such a tragic fate. Maybe that's why among all those people, in one of those crowded, busy streets, there was someone totally out of place. Are you sure about that? None of us are truly out of place. Nobody. She was a girl. A beautiful young maiden with white hair. As white and pure as snow. As pale as death itself. She kept her eyes on the ground, following a man. She made sure to keep up the pace, but although she was walking, her thoughts were elsewhere. Her mind, her feelings, they were far away, looking to the future, but her pain, what she carried in silence, accompanied her like a shadow. No one in the surroundings was aware of her presence. She was like a beautiful flower from the very Garden of Eden in the middle of a desert. Kind of like Las Vegas. It's very, very visible, but also in the middle of nowhere. And nobody cared if I said also twice. like automatons, each faceless figure moved from one piece to another. Don't be left behind. Like sheep, the man said to her from time to time. What was she doing there? Where was she headed? Maybe that didn't matter either. Sometimes it's not the destination that matters, but it's the journey to said destination. Her sadness was visible, so were her red eyes. Her pain was noticeable. Ironically, all that suffering, sadness, and pain was visible to the not very discerning eye. So, how can you tell? If her tears ran down her soul and not her cheeks, if each drop withered her wounded heart, as if she was sinking into a pit of darkness and she could only give silent cries of despair, because she could feel herself drowning with each passing day. Every X on the calendar was one less day here. I wouldn't ever see it like that, and one more in her torment. unable to do anything to avoid this sad fate. You may say that one day expired is another day closer to death, but that's kind of a morbid way to think about this kind of scenario. She was bound up in that confusion and fear, but this is a tragic story. Totally paralyzed. In addition to her sad gaze, her eyes were beginning to look empty. If you took a look at her, you knew that she was suffering from a terrible thirst. That's not wine that is vibrating, a thirst that water could not quench. Needs something a bit thicker. What could it be? Of knowledge? Of power? Or life? Of life, sorry. She didn't know either, and she was afraid to know the answer. She could only observe the indifferent stares of the others on her. Who could she ask for help? No, she had no one, because she's always been alone, and that without doubt increased her thirst. But who was to fill her cup? A cup of false promises and empty words. That would be a waste of time. I never say it's a waste of time, but the endeavour sometimes does not equal the result of the endeavour that you put into the action. Is that why no one remembers the last time she smiled? Can no one describe what her laugh is like anymore? Or the colour of her eyes when she is happy? No, no one can do such a thing, and she herself could not do it either. Gradually, she began to feel herself losing her essence, as her identity blurred. I want to scream, but no one would listen to her. I want to cry, but no one would comfort her. I want to run away. No one can run away from oneself. In that case, let me die. Nope, you can't do it. So, then, I want to be saved. But who would do such saving? Serena, the thorns of an immortal heart. The sky is clear and blue with a bit of red on the borders. It was morning. I'd been up for several hours and was ready to go out. Today I had to go to the bank to withdraw some savings I had for emergencies. I was in a serious predicament because I was unemployed. In fact, it wasn't something I was too worried about. How comes? If I was to be homeless or without food, if it was the work of what they call destiny, then go ahead. I considered that. In this life, there are more important things to worry about. Things to pay attention to. Why should I lose my sleep over such things? I want to dream beyond these cold walls, beyond these cold faces. You know, things, people. Nothing is forever, or so they say. And if I were to lose everything, then I'd be willing to start all over again. Edgar, I must go now, I said to myself. I looked in the mirror for the last time and closed the door before I started on my way. The smell of smoke from the cars and people made an unpleasant contrast to the rest of the atmosphere. I knew the path I had to follow, so my mind, almost out of habit, switched off from the world and went into a kind of automatic mode. I had no money. I had no job. Neither friends nor family. I had nothing, and that was something I found both distressing and indifferent at times. Even so, I pretended not to care, but that increased amount of time in which your pretending will stack. I didn't pay attention to my insecurities and worries. although it was something that would one day take its toll on me. You cannot run forever from what you are trying to avoid. But it scares me to know that for many of these wars, I have already lost the battle. Every time I crossed this street, a part of me got angry. I couldn't stand such a dreary atmosphere. Shop lights and colourful advertisements, people with 1,000 colours in their hair, loud music, and luxurious cars, but their expressions were as muted as a storm cloud. I'm sure that for more than one of those people, their greatest fear would be to simply stop for a second and appreciate that deep down they are even more alone than I am. Everything they strive and sacrifice for, in the end, does not fill any of those voids we all feel. Maybe that's why we all feel unhappy, or maybe it's that I just think too much. Both. The answer was clear. That didn't matter either. Well, that's also an answer. I arrived at the doors of the bank and looked inside through the tinted windows. The blinds were down, so it was hard to see who was inside. Anyway, I went in. I opened the door, whose metal knobs were burning from the sun, and the first thing I felt was a blast of cold wind and from the air conditioning. I went inside as if I was also entering another atmosphere totally opposite to the one outside. Far from the star. Far from the warmth. I went into what I call one of those rings of human darkness, because here everything but joy abounds, of course. Where is here, though? The atmosphere was undoubtedly gloomy, in spite of being in the middle of the year when life abounds in the mountains, where the flowers are full of colour, or the animals become more active. Here, on the other hand, it was the opposite. I detested these kinds of things. They consumed my morale, if I had any. But it was necessary if I was to be functional in this society. Luckily, there were not as many people as on other occasions. The typical old lady who comes to check her savings, some man who will come to draw part of his salary, etc. But among all those people there was someone. Is it someone with white hair, for instance? Okay, a girl. She looked about my age, and about my height. She was striking, very striking. Why? Well, her hair was completely white, and her aura is different somehow. She seemed so elegant, majestic and mature, as well as sad. She caught my attention, obviously. How could she not? I didn't usually stop to look at others, but on this occasion, this special occasion, she seemed different, as if her place wasn't here. If I had more courage in such cases, I would certainly have approached her and asked for a number or her name. Surely you get to know somebody, surely name first. I'm sure she has a name as elegant as her hair. What does it mean of Serena, by the way? But everybody on the ground! Someone shouted behind me. A hooded man wearing a black jacket and carrying a gun into the bank. With one kick, he knocked one of the old... Damn, what a horrible man. He knocked one of the old women to the ground. He seemed nervous and quite violent. Desperate. It was probably his first time doing something like this. I clenched my fist tightly, thinking about what to do. But what could I do? Rather, should I do something? In the worst case, I could end up with a bullet in my head for trying to be a hero. Where do you have the money? Give me everything you have. You too. He ordered us as he aimed his gun at us. A second man, armed with a shotgun, entered just as agitated. They forced us all to give them our belongings. Watches, phones, money. Come on, you two! He shoved me as he went through my pockets. After that he looked at the girl. There was a man, bald, of great height, who seemed to be like her father. He tried to stop the thieves from laying a hand on her, but ended up with a bullet to his head from the with a blow to his head from the butt of a gun. Okay. The man fell to the ground, still bad, and the girl watched him with a panicked expression on her face. Give me what you have or I'll shoot you, he shouts at the young woman. But a third robber entered and, with a gesture, signaled to the rest that the police were coming. So they all ran away. Everyone except the one who was aiming at the girl. Didn't you hear me? Give me what you have or... He paused as he looked her up and down. I have a better idea. You come with us. He grabbed her arm and pushed her towards the exit. He was going to kidnap her, wasn't he? But what kind of question am I asking? Of course he was going to kidnap her, and who knows what else he would... Yeah, don't want to think about that. It was no time to think. I have nothing, and what few things I had were just stolen from me. Now, I don't care about anything, so why not? Throw an object at him, bring down the robber. Think of a different plan. Oh dearie me. Well, according to the synopsis of the game, there's only one outcome with 4 different variations. Throw an object at him. There is no time to think. I looked around and grabbed the first thing I saw. In this case it was a chair, or rather a stool. I thought that its iron legs could hurt him, although it could hurt the girl too. However, that was better than letting him take her away. I grabbed the stool with both hands and left it over my head, and with all my strength. The robber looked at me as if I threw the seat at him. He aimed and shot, and it hit them. He left the girl behind and ran away almost limping. I breathed a sigh of relief and quickly checked if I had not been shot. It didn't seem to be the case. Although I heard that being shot is not initially obvious. It's not like being stabbed. I was in one piece. Or, yep. Yep, thought so. This is blood. I've been wounded, haven't I? Crap. I collapsed, as if in realizing this all the pain had severely awakened. Yep, you was shot. I closed my eyes and placed my hands on my face, as if in a crude attempt to relieve the pain. I heard people coming out of the bank. The police stopped in front of a building, and it was getting more and more rowdy outside. If this was America, we got a huge fine. When I opened my eyes, all was relatively calm. But now, I was not alone. Was we saved? In front of me was a girl from before, with a worried expression on her face, and quite nervous, as if she was extremely worried about me. I guess it's a normal reaction that someone is wounded, isn't it? I just noticed the 2 little fangs, which is a little bit concerning. And yet I was surprised that anyone would come forward to help another person. We're not all truly apathetic, you know. I was so hurt. Are you alright? Because of me, you've been... She said in a warm and sweet tone, but full of guilt and worry. Me? It's nothing, don't worry, it's just a scratch. It's not just a scratch. A scratch? But you're bleeding. She scolded me, raising her voice. I could almost feel her scolding me for the stupid thing I said, trying to be a hero. You are... It's nothing. See? I tried to reassure her, holding the pain in my face. She looked at my wound almost as if she was hypnotized. I assumed that it was a result of shock or stress, so I didn't care too much. You... She turned to you as she brought her finger close to my skin, wetting her fingers with my blood. Okay. I told you it's alright, I'm sure of it. I was trying to stop her. Under my astonished gaze, she licked the blood from her fingers. As she did so, I could almost swear her eyes sparkled. Okay, they seemed to be a bit more red. What are you... When she reacted and realized what she'd done, she covered her face. She stood up and turned around. Oh no! The man who seemed to be with her came over and stood next to me. Boy, are you alright? He asked me as he stroked his earlier bump. Yes, really. It seems superficial. It doesn't matter. I kept insisting as I pretended to get up. Anyway, let's go outside and get a doctor to treat you. You are right. He offered me in his hand to help me stand up. Thank you. I thanked him politely. I went outside and was immediately treated for my wound. As I said, nothing serious. However, this time it was just pure luck. I could have been killed. If that had been the case, well, you wouldn't be here to witness the injury. After they washed my wound and applied a bandage, they told me I could leave, but not before talking to the police. We all stated what we had seen in order to give as many details as possible about the thieves. When I finished, I was beginning to think that this was going to be an extremely long day. That's what I thought until again, the man's voice called out to me. Hey kiddo, can I talk to you for a minute? He called me after putting his hand on my shoulder. Sure, what's wrong? I turned to speak to him properly. He took my arm as he pulled me away from the other people, I guess to talk in private. I have to thank you for protecting Serena, the girl from before, with such bravery. If you hadn't, maybe... I don't even want to think about it. You're welcome. It was what I had to do, I suppose. You don't need... I didn't want to just talk just to say thank you. He stopped me. By the way, what's your name? My name is Edgar. Edgar Bright. That's a good name. What else would you say then? I'm Raymond, but everyone calls me Ray. And the girl from before is Serena. I am her attendant. I take care of her security, fulfilling her needs, and a long list of other tasks. The point here is, I have talked to her about what happened. What happened? I asked, not sure what he meant. You know, after she licked your blood. Oh, you see, she is sick. As far as you can see, she is a fragile and weak girl. She can hardly tolerate the sun and doesn't usually leave her room, but she was so insistent that I had to bring her with me. It sounds strange, but her illness forces me to need transfusions of blood, almost as if it were her only source of food and substance. Without it, she loses her strength and becomes weaker and weaker. And what I want to talk to you about is that she won't tolerate just any kind of blood. Like a specific type of blood. In fact, she had not been able to eat properly for too long, so with the stress of the moment, the heat of the sun and her thirst, she lost control. I guess when she saw your blood, she couldn't resist tasting it. And that's kind of weird, you know. Finding someone whose blood is compatible with Serena's body is rare. Very rare. Almost too rare to be true. It's almost like destiny. That's why I'm sure her dad would think the same as me. Where are you going with this whole story? Edgar, your blood needs to be transfusionized. It almost seems like you're pulling my leg with a vampire joke. Listen, kid. How about coming with us for a while? We will pay for your stay, a higher salary than here, and whatever you need. In return, you will have to take care of her, and above all, give her some of your blood. You're kidding me, right? How can a human being need blood to live? But we're not talking about a human, are we? We're talking about a vampire, or a pseudo-vampire at the very least. Is it even legal to ask me such a thing? I questioned. Please. You can leave at any time, but at least come with us and see for yourself how much she needs help. Both for your blood and for perhaps some companionship. I turned my head to look for her. She was looking down at the floor as she waited for us to finish talking. And as a distraction, she wrapped her hair around her index finger. In nervousness, when people do that sort of thing, they're waiting for a response. Serena, What kind of person was this girl? From what this man Ray was saying, didn't she have any friends? I was curious to meet her. Alright, I'll go with you, I answered with determination. Really? He asked me to check that I was absolutely sure of my decision. Yes, we can leave right now if you need to. Don't you have to take your things or say goodbye to anyone? No, I will leave without anything else. Besides, my apartment, that robber has already taken what little I have, and almost took my own life as well. I have nothing left to lose, so why not? I see. In that case, Serena! He called out to her firmly. We're leaving. And we have ourselves a different scenario. Without knowing how I ended up in this situation, now I was in the back seat of a car that was not mine, with a man I didn't know and a girl who needed my blood to survive. Just another day in the office. The scriptwriter of my life has no doubt gone mad or tried today. Fourth wall breaking. Perhaps a mixture of both. That man Ray talked to me with some more about what I need to do in this new job. I just listened to what he said. We're going to need a lot of water in this case. Serena barely looked at me or spoke. She remained silent as if she did not trust me, or conversely was still embarrassed by her slip. But it seems like it did the trick, whatever trick it may be. We arrived at what I guess was the mansion where Serena lived. It was as big as irregular. It looked new, yet old. I would say refurnished. Or so my intuition told me. I got out of the car with Serena while Ray went to park the vehicle and get a few more things. Serena, take Edgar to the guest room and check his wound. He will stay there as long as he resides in the mansion. Can you do that? But also hold back your quench for Edgar's blood, please. He asked her as if it were a big favor. Yes, no problem. She seemed to accept that without objection. Perfect. I will be back in a few minutes. She remained silent, however. The car drove off, and she tried to avoid making eye contact for too long. Without a doubt, it was obvious that she was avoiding me. It was like she was holding back to sink something into something. When our eyes met, she quickly looked away. Was she uncomfortable with my presence? Perhaps she doesn't like me at all. Or is she still embarrassed? I think either the first one or the third one. Perhaps a mixture of both, but not the second one. We walked towards the entrance, but first I wanted to break the ice with her. If I was going to live here now, I wanted at least a pleasant atmosphere. So, you're Serena, am I right? Yes, that's right. Serena Regine. She answered my question politely. Where have I heard that surname before? And, do you really need my blood? Isn't it a bit abnormal? Yeah, you could say that. She finished my question as if she had already answered it many times. It is. Of course it is. But do you think my condition is something I asked for? That again is something which we can definitely answer as like, no, you did not want this kind of condition. It's kind of born into us. No, of course not. It's just, sorry, she sighed. I'm a bit tense because of what happened this morning. I can only imagine as I attempted to be kidnapped. And I'm also not sure what happened to me when you and I... What, you mean when you licked my blood? Don't say it like that. I mean, just get straight to the point. It's the first time something like this has happened to me. I understand that you have a lot of questions about this, but we can talk later. Is that okay? Now, let's go inside before the sun kills me. Oh, you're right. Sorry, come on. With a gesture of my hand, I advised her to continue walking so she could guide me into the mansion. Serena opened the front door, and we entered the place that from today will be my new home. The first thing I noticed was that, unlike the outside, everything was quite clean and airy. We can breathe and it doesn't have any toxicity to it. I suppose Serena had a group of servants who would do most of the chores for her, didn't she? I imagine that now I was also part of that entourage. We walked up the stairs while my peasant shoes soiled the luxurious carpets on the floor, until we stopped at one of the doors, my new room, my new home. And the room itself is Act 1, New Blood. New blood, you'll say? We should call this X, but this is a 1-hour game, or a bit more as it's like that. It was the first day I spent in this place, in this new quote-unquote job. I couldn't sleep a wink because it all seemed so strange compared to the humbler and simpler life I'd led before. Now I was surrounded by strangers, in a gigantic mansion flaunting opulence. I shook my head trying to clear my mind and started to get dressed. You say started to get dressed. Suddenly someone knocked on the door. Is it Serena? Oh, Ray. Edgar? May I come in? Sure, come in. Ray entered with a sheet of paper in his hand, which he placed on the table. I have some documents that you should read and sign. You know, just paperwork. I'll also bring you a little note with your obligations for now, to give you an idea of your duties. Now that you're working for Miss Serena, I expect a lot from you, boy. Oh, thanks, Raymond. I tried to thank him for his help and sympathy. Call me Ray. I already told you. He smiled at me in a friendly way. I'll let you finish getting ready. But one last thing, Edgar. As you know, your main duty and the reason you are here is your blood. I know. I haven't forgotten about that detail. Perfect. I have brought the necessary equipment to extract a small amount from you. Both for Miss Serena and to check your health. Hey, it's a 2-in-1 sort of thing, but hopefully you get to check my health before giving the blood to Serena, otherwise there'll be no point of the check if there's no blood to check. No problem, right? Not at all. I see. You are still a bit skeptical about the lady's condition. Well, I've never seen anyone who needs to drink my blood to survive, or drink blood to survive. It's understandable, but why don't you let the lady tell you everything? Serena? I asked nervously, considering that her attitude towards me was so elusive. Who else? She just didn't seem very willing to get along with me. There's always some backstory behind this. I doubt she'll want to talk. That's why you're here, mate. Don't despair, and please don't leave her to herself. He sentenced me before turning and closing the door. But I'll be waiting for you when you're ready in the main hall. He shouted as he walks down the corridor. I guess that's how it's going to be from today onwards. Now I must... more choices. We shall read the papers on the table. Before I finished getting ready, I went over to the table where Ray left the documents and notes. I glanced over the documents. Warnings about liability, occupational hazards, health insurance. I put my signature without caring too much. You should really look through it. Like, this is a new life you're leading. You should really consider things without skimming through bits of text and detail. I put those sheets aside and took the note with my duties. Welcome, Edgar Bright. You have been hired to, as you may be aware, supply your blood to Miss Serena. In addition to that, you must take care of her by tending to her needs, from protecting her from any risk, threat, or even from the light itself. It's really ironic that our surname is Bright, and yet the person we need to protect it from light. Looking after her health is as important as looking after your own. The clean and kitchen staff will take care of most of the daily chores. Obviously, you can contribute to it, but that's not why you're here. That's not your primary needs to be here. Because considering the kind of person you are, we think it's the perfect occasion for you to have a more special goal. You should get close to Serena and be with her. Give her some company and try to make sure she can enjoy herself as much as possible. And your blood. It is something I could only ask you, Edgar. If you wish to know more, you should ask the lady, which is Serena. Good luck, Raymond. Only say Raymond if you're in a serious conversation about him, and anything else, Ray. At times like this, I wonder what kind of job I have just accepted. But well, it's getting late. I better finish dressing. I quickly tidied my clothes, combed my hair, and cleaned my shoes. Once I had everything ready, I went out into the corridor in search of Ray. I didn't know where the main hall he mentioned was, but it shouldn't be too difficult to find, right? Let's go. Once I went out into the corridors, no one was there. Ray wasn't there, nor was Serena. No staff either. I thought nothing of it and made my way awkwardly to the large main hall where they were waiting for me. After handing over and signing some extra paperwork, I was taken to a more secluded room. Is that where Oh, I see. I sat quietly and followed the directions I was given. It was the moment where I was supposed to give my blood. Nevertheless, I was there for it. I shouldn't be surprised. A wet cotton wool, there's the blood, it started to go down, was placed on my arm to facilitate the search for veins, After this, and with my now knowledge of medicine, I sensed that some kind of tube had been inserted into me. Perhaps I prefer to not know so much about it. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, after all. In any case, the blood began to flow, slowly advancing through the transparent tube until it fell into a glass cup, like the one someone would use to drink wine. I didn't ask questions. I knew why I was there, and I knew what it was all for. How do you feel, mate? I need some extra H2O, he asked me with some concern. I feel fine. Why do you ask? We are collecting a lot of blood from you. It's normal to ask, isn't it? Yeah, because of feeling faint. I guess so, but I'm feeling okay. Just okay. That's sort of like 50-50. I smiled jokingly at him. Understood. But once we're done here, go back to your room and rest. Alright, I'll do it. Could you put a glass of water aside so I can produce more blood? I replied, a bit discouraged. The day had just started. I didn't feel like waiting or lying down. But if that's what I have to do, there's no other way. Really? You are free to go. Get up carefully. Ray indicated as he helped me get out of my seat. Can you go to your room on your own? I've already told you. It's all okay. Then go, kiddo. Make sure you replenish your fluids and get some rest. Thank you for that reminder. I left Ray and a nurse in that room while I went straight to my bedroom. Also, I tried to, from my vague memory of the path, of course. Great. I thought our main objective in our new job is to satisfy the needs of Serena on a more close level. Once I arrived, I lay down on the soft bed. I was feeling fine, but I was slowly starting to feel very tired because of the lack of blood. I guess it's because of a blood loss. Exactly! Since I have nothing better to do, I'll just close my eyes for a moment. I'm pretty sure there's something else you could do, like looking after Serena. Although, because Serena would be more active at night, she would sleep in the day, and you would sleep during the day like her. When I opened my eyes again, it was already late afternoon. I could hear the birds singing to bid farewell to the day and mark the arrival of dusk. I got up slowly, a little dizzy. I was supposed to be fine up until just a moment ago, and anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. I stood up and went outside. And outside was more of the mansion. I was walking for a long time in those unfamiliar corridors. They will soon become familiar. Almost as if in a dreamlike experience, the warm light of the sunset tingled the atmosphere with melancholy. As if I had already experienced this feeling of loneliness and false sadness before. I continued, looking at the paintings, the statues that decorated the pillars. I was looking at everything around me. But what struck me the most was that there was no one there. There was nothing, not a single sound or a voice. Beyond my footsteps walking on the red velvet was the carpet, there was nothing else. I walked aimlessly, as I let my instinct and imagination guide me, until a strong gust of wind broke my trance. One of the nearby windows was open, and I could hear the sound of the curtains fluttering in the breeze. I went to look for that window, without expecting that, of all the places, she would be there. And indeed she was there. When I arrived, she was looking at the landscape while at times she held her hair. She kept that sad and absent expression, like the first time we met, fixed on the horizon, away from here. The air caressed her hair and made it sway in a captivating and majestic scene. I want to know why her eyes were trying to hide that pain. That story that perhaps will never be told by her lips, but will be told by her gaze. "Here you are," she said by way of greeting, as if she had been looking for me. "Indeed, here I am, ready to serve you," I jokingly replied with a mock bow. "I see you had a good rest." "I did indeed have a great and grand rest." She sighed and paused briefly. "That relieves me. Were you worried about me?" Absolutely not, she was. When she became nervous at my question, although she tried to hide it, yeah, when you try and exaggerate something, it usually has the opposite effect. "I'm fine. I already survived a gunshot and a loss of blood. Losing a little more blood is not a problem. Even so, don't exert yourself, okay? Otherwise you'll never be able to produce any more blood as I desperately need." "At your service." I said so she wouldn't worry too much. Maybe this is a good time to talk to her. Let's not ask about her condition. What are you doing here? What were you doing here? Me? I was simply watching the sunset. Isn't it beautiful and sad at the same time? Why sad? Why do you say it's sad? Why? Because dusk means that the sun is leaving. The day is coming to an end. It's like going to a place where no one can see you. And many are those who disappear from this world with the illusion of seeing it again. Of seeing a new dawn, which never came. What are you trying to imply, Serena? Isn't that sad? You may be right, but it is a somewhat pessimistic view of a sunset. She smiled faintly as a resigned grimace. You're right, sorry. We get to ask both, okay. Although sometimes it's the order in which you ask things in, not just the necessary fact of asking them in the first place. Hey, Serena? Yes? I would like to ask you about your condition. My condition? What do you want to know? Why do you need blood to survive? Why do you need blood to survive? That's a bit of an unnecessary choice since there's only one. I mean, I understand that someone needs a transfusion because something is wrong. I would cautiously adhere your words. I would not say that there's something wrong with that said person, but there's something different about that person. I've never heard of a case like yours. There's always a first for everything, is there? I understand that. It is normal for you to be puzzled or find it hard to believe, but it is the truth. And now, I need your blood to live. And your money. You see, as far as I know, I was born with this condition. My mother died after giving birth to me. It was my father who raised me until I was a child. I've always been a weak girl, just like my mother. The sunlight made me weak, as if I was allergic to it. I guess I inherited it from her. Or at least that's what I've been told since I never met her. And about the blood, it is the only way for me to get stronger and to extend my life. Extend my life. Obviously I can eat and drink like an ordinary person. What about garlic? But I'll always need someone else's blood to survive. Don't you think it's kind of sad? But then again, Raymond said that, well, only a certain kind of blood. I'm like a parasite. Maybe you are. Maybe you're right, and you are like a parasite. The question would be whether that is a bad thing for you. What do you mean by that? I mean, well, it's not your fault. You were born like this, and it's not your fault you're like that. If you cannot change your nature, neither can you deny what you are. That's why I don't think you should talk about yourself like that, don't you? Because at the end of the day, you are who you are, with your good and bad things, and that imperfection, in the eyes of others, can be wonderful. You just have to accept yourself. Oh well, that's how I see it. I scratched my cheek worried that I might have said something wrong. Yes, you may be right. I shouldn't talk about myself like that. I'm sorry. Thank you for giving me your point of view, Edgar. No problem, I replied, even though I sensed some sadness in her words. I more or less understand how important my blood is to you, although I still have doubts about all this. We can't expect to understand everything in a moment. Exactly. Don't despair. That's one of the things that Raymond said, actually. I would like to ask you something else. I'm listening. Was there anyone else before me? There were more subjects like me before, weren't there? You know, the ones where you take the blood and... Yes, there were. And what happened to them? They left. Some because they started to hate the job, others due to fatigue, and others because they became weak. Weak? Constant blood loss can weaken any living thing, Edgar. That's why you had to sign some documents today, didn't you? Hadn't you read them? Of course. Yes. But I feel fine. Now you do. They said that too. Yeah, I was thinking. They all said at the beginning they all felt fine, but later on down the line, probably they had a different opinion. The people came here before you. You. Just take care of yourself and protect your health. And maybe, when you reach your limit, that is when we will say goodbye to each other. Damn. I kept quiet so as to not take the issue any further. I want to discuss everything she said, but on the other hand, I still don't know anything. How can I talk about something I don't know about? Obviously I want to tell her with all the fervour of my being that I had no intention of leaving. Everything she was saying was just pessimism. But I couldn't do that. Not yet. How have you fed yourself so far? Let's talk about the mansion thing last. How have you been feeding yourself all this time? It is both simple and complex, but just to give you an idea, the employees of the mansion are the ones who offer me the blood. I have never asked where it comes from, or from what or who it is. It could even be animal for all we know. I just take it, and I don't ask too many questions. We have some stocks in bottles, but the best is fresh blood. Of course, it is rare to find people compatible with my metabolism, and when that happens, they tend not to endure the very long of... Well, thanks for giving me that bit of detail. We may not last long then. What do you mean? They end up dropping out, ceasing to be compatible, or... She paused slightly. Deteriorating. That. I can never pronounce that word. That's why you have to follow the medical advice you're given, okay? I know. How is your life in the mansion? My life here? Yes, I want to know what your day-to-day life is like. I have never been out of this place too much. I usually get up, take a shower, and take a small dose if I feel thirsty. If I feel thirsty. I've always enjoyed reading all the books in the library, or take care of the plants in the vivarium. And I don't really have much more to say. A bit disappointing, isn't it? What about your father? Do you have no friends, or... No. My father never comes here, and I've never had any friends. I've always been alone. Damn. And I imagine it will always be like this. Goodbye. It's getting late. I think I should get something to eat and go back to my room. Do you mind if I go now? Oh, of course not. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow? Alright. There are still a lot of things I want to know. And according to Ray, I have to take care of you. So don't think you're rid of me. I don't. I always try to have... God damn it. I always try to have low expectations. God damn it. And that means not having too many illusions. See you tomorrow, Serena. I walked away as I said goodbye to her. But she remained silent. Maybe she doesn't want to say too many goodbyes. I was somewhat annoyed by the pessimism in her attitude. So what about seeing things from the other's perspective, though? But I understood that maybe Serena couldn't have a different opinion because of everything she had been through so far. And that made me want to stay here, and kept digging and getting to know her. I had an intuition that she was someone special, someone worth knowing, someone worth wanting to be with. Day 2. Morning came, and with it a new day. I yawned enthusiastically and dressed bravely. I really wanted to start doing 1,000 things as I was feeling better, with more energy. So without thinking twice, I went out into the corridor, and lo and behold, I looked for Serena so I could talk to her, but I couldn't find her anywhere. Maybe she was inside a coffin somewhere, sleeping. Act 2, Wounded Heart. How many acts are in this game? It says this game is a short duration. But alas. Oh, now, although I've been looking for her, I could not find her. I wandered through the various areas of the mansion. I searched in every corner. Nothing. I didn't know where she could have gone. I asked Ray and some of the staff, but nobody could answer me. I can't sleep. I think I'll go for a walk. I cleared my throat with some water before leaving, trying to make as little noise as possible. I didn't want to wake anyone, in the case others were sleeping. So I decided to walk outside. Being able to feel the night breeze caressing my skin relaxed me. I didn't know the area, so I was careful not to get lost. Still, I enjoyed being able to sink my shoes into the ground, being able to caress the leaves of the trees, listening to the silence of nature, and to delight myself with the sea of stars that crowned the night sky. We barely get that nowadays because of light pollution. It cleared my mind of doubts and unnecessary things. Or so I thought, because I kept thinking about where Serena might be. Why didn't anyone seem to care? Did they know where she was but didn't want to tell me? Maybe it's because it's not a concern. Was it something usual or secret? I don't know. I still didn't know anything. However, I was only a guest, and by the words of that girl, my presence here is as thin as the leaves of a deciduous plant. Knowing this was something that bothered me. I clenched my fist tightly after remembering that. But I want to do something. If everyone else chooses to look the other direction, I can't do that. If everyone's looking left, I'm going to go look right. I can't change the world, but maybe I can change hers. I said to myself, remembering the sad expression she always seemed to have. Why is her view of life so pessimistic? Has she had such a bad time? Has she suffered so much? I wish I could do something, but I would just like to see her again. I reached the edge of the cliff and stopped for a few minutes to look at the horizon, when all of a sudden my eyes stopped on something, or rather on someone. Serena. It was indeed Serena. Serena was there by the edge of the cliff, just as I found her yesterday, lost in thought. Why didn't she show up today? Why does she insist so much on running away and isolate herself? What does she seem to be so afraid of? What are you doing here? She said, half surprised, as if she was suspicious of me. I was looking... Let's make a joke. Without saying anything, I closed my eyes just enough to see where I was walking. I raised my arms like a zombie from a bad B movie and kept walking. Edgar? I didn't pay attention. Huh? Edgar? I approached the edge of the cliff, pretending I was going to fall off because I was sleepwalking. Edgar, wake up! Before she got up, I opened my eyes and turned around. Oh, where am I? You were about to fall. Don't give me such a scare. So you do care about me, don't you? She blushed slightly. What a way to get someone's attention. Don't be stupid. Obviously I don't want anyone to die in front of me. Well, miss. Let's look on the bright side. At least you don't have such a sad expression on your face anymore. Maybe risking my life isn't such a bad thing after all. I said with a chuckle to lighten the mood, but will it actually work? Don't be so stupid. Got it, milady. Well, are you going to tell me what a girl like you is doing in a place like this? I always wanted to say something like that sometime in my life. She didn't want to answer. Why didn't you show up at the mansion today? Did you not want to see me again? No! It's nothing like that. So why do you seem to be running away and hiding? I don't... It's just... She took a breath of air. Never mind. I'd rather not talk about it now. Insist. I do care. I want to know what's on your concern, and why would you want to know? Why do you care about what I feel? Because I'm interested in meeting you. And if you're going through a bad time, I'd like to help you. I don't think anyone in this world would be so kind as to do something like that, without expecting anything in return. Sometimes we don't expect things in return. Sometimes we just do something because it's a good gesture of will. And what could I want in return? I don't know. I don't want anything. Just to know why you're running away so vehemently. If I told you, would you stop insisting? maybe. It depends on the response. And once you get to know me better, what are you supposed to do? I don't know. I prefer to focus on the present. Then we can think about the future. She was silent, as if pondering whether to give in to my request. Alright, let's talk. So tell me, what do you want to know? I want you to tell me why you are hiding, and then we will talk about the stars. Why are you hiding from me? I've already told you I'm not hiding. Yes, you are. I'm just a bit scared. What are you scared of? To get along with you. And why is that a concern? And when you leave? We don't even have an end of date to the contract. I'll miss you. For your information, I have no intention of leaving. Did you know that? That is not something you decide. At least not entirely. What happens if you get sick like everyone else and have to give up? That won't happen. I'm great. Haven't you seen me? I acted like if I was a zombie. I raised my arm to play the strong man. You see this wound as a sign of a war. You may be now, but what about tomorrow? What would happen if... Then I'll think of something tomorrow. The point is, I'm fine now, so why are you so worried? Because I've always been alone. I can't go out like other people. I have to confine myself here, where I can't be cared for if I fall ill or faint, where I get my food and medicine. I depend on many people. Don't we all depend on many people, though? And yet I have been completely alone for as long as I remember. The few people came here and never stayed long enough. When I got along well with someone, I was rejected or abandoned without notice. That's why I'm afraid. I'm afraid of being fond of someone, because if they may leave. Has this ever happened to you? Me? Yes, of course it has happened to me. And it doesn't hurt you? Of course it does, but what can we do when someone leaves in one way or another? Of course it hurts. You can experience incredible things with someone, and from one day to the next they disappear. The memories you spend with that person, the laughter and tears, everything eventually fades into oblivion. But it is something we cannot control. It is something that is sometimes unavoidable. We all have a time limit on this world. You know that. I know, but don't you think it's better to squeeze every second we have available? Take risks, make decisions, get out of our comfort zone and live to the fullest now that we can? Living, laughing, crying, loving, getting angry, being wrong, losing and winning. All are things that sooner or later can disappear. But we must focus on the now and make those memories. There is no joy without pain. And perhaps everything has a price. The question I ask you is, what do you want to keep? What do I want to keep? Yes. Would you rather stay and cling to the pain? Run away forever from something as human as that? Or would you rather take your chances and live? With the good and the bad. And you? What is your answer? I don't know. Doubt is human too, isn't it? But after having lost everything and also been alone in this chaotic world, I'd say I prefer to hold on to the good things. Maybe part of my insistence on you would be that. In using my time here to remember me, to make your world and the way you see it, or even live it, better. Thanks to the time we spent together. You're a pretty strange person. Has anyone ever told you that? Oh, many people have done. I can be, but I like it. I like the way you are. It may be that beneath that mundane appearance... Call me mundane, how dare you? There is someone quite virtuous and profound. Of course. Hey, wait. Is that good or bad? That's for you to decide. She laughed as she covered her mouth. Just kidding, Edgar. But thank you. As you say, I feel that every time I talk to you, you open my eyes a little more. It is a pleasure to do so. And also part of my job, I seem to remember. Wait, this shouldn't load up. How can I help you? This is Serena. Yes? I cannot understand why you think and see everything in such a pessimistic way, but I wish there was something I could do to help you. To remove the veil of sadness from your eyes. So that you can see things in a different way, more, I don't know, less pessimistic? Happy? How can I help you? And why do you think I need help? Have I asked you to do anything about it? No, I suppose I am a selfish creature. Humans by nature are selfish creatures. And although you have not asked me to help in words, your expression and attitude say otherwise. She kept quiet as if she'd been upset. Come on, you don't have to keep pretending you're a strong, indifferent girl. She looked away as if to avoid the subject. Alright. So from this moment on, you and I, she turned her head to look at me curiously, will be friends. Friends? Exactly. Friends. But you'll be... You don't know that. Stop thinking of the same outcome. This time will be different. You will leave me like the others. I won't do it. Besides, being selfish, I'm stubborn. And I think you've missed something, Serena. You say that the others you've met, they're just gone overnight, right? That is... And haven't you thought that maybe they weren't your friends? I mean, even if their work here had ended, that's not a good enough reason to stop talking to you. Or at least for me, none of that would be a reason to forget you. I don't intend to leave, but if I did, believe me, I would come back to visit you. You say you'd still come back to see me? Of course, because we are friends now. Her expression turned from evasive to slightly nervous. Maybe I was finally convincing her to open her heart? Come on, miss. Drop that cold armor at once and give me your hand. But if I do that, the pain will be even stronger. I don't want to end up broken into 1,000 pieces. We all start out broken from the very beginning of our existence. We all start as small cells. Let at least one of my hugs put some of your pieces back together again. Okay? Trust me. I extended my hand to her. I know it may be difficult for you, but we will take this step together. I'll take responsibility. Maybe that's why I came here. She reached out her hand and placed it over mine. I lightly brought her hand to my lips and gave her a gentle kiss in imitation of loyalty to a medieval princess. Don't be afraid, Serena. It'll be alright. See? I'm still here after all. I smiled from ear to ease her anxiety, which seemed to work as her frown eased. You win. You really are persistent, Edgar. It's one of my delightful qualities. You will discover the following ones. She closed her eyes and covered her mouth to laugh with restraint. Let's talk about the stars. Hey, Serena, don't you think the sky is beautiful today? Or tonight? Yes, it definitely is. Is it always like this? Why do you ask? I don't know. In the city where I used to live, you couldn't see the stars. It was something that grieved me, because I always loved the moon. I understand. The sky has always been lit up like this here. In fact, when I was worried about something, I used to come here to walk around and contemplate them. It has always been something that relaxed me and helps me to think. What kind of undiscovered places will be up there? Will there be someone else like me, looking at the same sky? These are questions I used to ask myself as I watched them. Regardless of where you are within the world, everyone will always be looking towards the same sky. It may look a little different, but we're always looking at the same sky. And what question do you ask yourself at this moment when you see them? Now? I wasn't asking them anything. No, but what do you learn from them? Rather, I was seeking comfort. Like you, I often identified with the moon. Feeling bathed in its light is magical for me. Since I am despised by the sun, I guess that makes me a creature of the night. Nocturnal, you are right. But remember that it is on the darkest nights that the true light shines the brightest. What does this mean? You will know in time. But I didn't really know what it meant either. I just wanted to impress her a bit, even if I didn't know what it was that I was talking about. Let's go back to the mansion. I think we should get back to the mansion now, before it's too late. Besides, it's getting colder out here. But I don't mind the cold. I can't let you get sick. I'll be fine, you don't need me to worry. I'm in care of this young lady, so no retorts. I held out my hand to help her up. I'm starting to become aware of your blind insistence, so it's okay. You win. Another victory for good old Edgar. I smiled as she stood up. Let's go back. She nodded as we left the place. The return walk wasn't too long, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to talk to her further. Serena? Yes, what is it on this wonderful night? Now I know you like to see the stars, but are there any other places you would like to see or visit? I don't know. Maybe... I'm sure that in some of your favourite books there are places that caught your attention. Yes, there are. In that case, I'm curious to visit the sea. Going to the beach? Yes, but I would like to dive deeper. We're not swimming. But you know, I can't spend too much time in the sun, and that's not a problem. We'll go when everyone else is gone. That's a win-win. There are cloudy days and nights. Instead of focusing so much on the problems, let's join forces and find solutions. We're friends now, so you're not alone. I'll talk with Ray in case we can do some special trips under specific circumstances. Do you think I'll be able to go one day? Of course. Aww. She smiled slightly, sorry. Like I just didn't notice if there was, I don't know, a blush there or a tear. Well, knowing how stubborn you are, you might be able to pull it off and all. Don't hesitate, my lady. When we finally reached the entrance to the mansion, we both said goodbye. You know, I kind of appreciate your conversation today. Really? Yes. I never know what you'll surprise me with at every turn. And on the other hand, I'm grateful that you're not so quick to give up on me. Because, well, I know that sometimes I can be too unbearable. How comes? Do you believe that about yourself? You think yourself is that ungrateful? Because for me, it turns out to be the opposite. It's true that you're a bit icy from time to time, but that's part of your charm. An icy queen. You are still a box of surprises. Alright, miss. But now we must go and rest. Or do you want Ray to wake up from his lethargy and tell us off? I know. See you tomorrow, Edgar. Sweet dreams, Serena. I jokingly bowed a little goodbye. Sometimes insistence is the only way. I was happy to see that she was able to put on an expression other than sadness. Saying goodbye with smiles, not tears, is something that should be the norm. But in the case of Serena, I guess it never has been. And perhaps not for me either. In any case, it was time to switch off the mind and close my eyes. I said goodbye to the past and the present, to face a better future. Don't we all do that every day when we go to sleep? Act 3. The pain of being alive. We all feel that on a day-to-day basis. It's gone over an hour. After that night, where Serena and I had some time to talk and become closer, everything changed. Our relationship, which had previously been very cold and distant, was beginning to be the opposite. And is it Ray on the door? Who is it? It's me. Can I come in? Okay, it's Serena then. Are you presentable? Of course I am. Come in, come in. Every day since then, the two of us would meet to hang out together. To talk about anything, or just walk around. Although, to be honest, it used to be her who always came to me first. It could be because she's dying to be with me. Or it could be because I'm sleeping late. What do you feel like doing today? Today? Let me think. She weighed all of her options before giving an answer. Well, you have time to think about it, because today I have to go with Ray for you-know-what. Oh. Blood collection days were something Serena hated because they created some uncertainty for her. She'd be like, you know what I talked about earlier, Serena, about, not leaving you all stuff? Well, I'm having second thoughts now. That long face again. You see, you have nothing to worry about. So you say, but what if you start feeling unwell today? If the last few times nothing happened, this time it will be no less. Okay, so we skimmed a few times. In fact, how about you come with me? To watch you lose years of your life because of me? That's cruel of you, Edgar. What have I told you about this pessimistic attitude? It's not pessimism, it's a reality. Or do you enjoy having so much blood taken from you? I don't enjoy it. What I do enjoy is the result. I took her hand in a gentlemanly manner. Alright. I trust this stubborn person. That's better. I pat her on the back. You still need to prepare yourself, don't you? Yes, but it won't take long. Then I'll wait for you in my room, when you're done with Ray. No problem. Now come on. Get out of here before you see me need blood. In that case, I have no problem. She laughed as I pushed her out of the room. Don't be... Usually in visual novels, it's the contrary. Usually it's the... Anyways. For goodness sakes. Don't be a P-word and give me some privacy. Come on. Okay. You don't have to push me. I'd rather verbally push than physically push, because it seems like then they don't have an option. I closed the door as soon as her feet landed on the hallway carpet. After that, I leaned my back against the cold wood of the door, letting myself slide down to sit on the floor. Don't forget to meet me in my room afterwards. It's a promise. Wait, it wasn't a pinky promise, though. She shouted at me as she walked away. I gave an anguished laugh in complete silence. I was tired. Extremely tired. The bad thing? I had just woken up. I knew what this exhaustion was about, and I don't think I need to mention it. I'm not sure how long I've been here. With Ray. With Serena. How many months or weeks has passed? Wait, hold on. We've transpired through a lot of time without any dialogue? How dare they... I'm just kidding. That's the thing with visual novels. What you don't see within the game is just as important as what you see in the game. What I mean by that is screen time. Here I am, still making promises I may not be able to keep. I'm starting to get pathetic. Come on, man. I laughed inwardly again, almost desperately. Maybe Serena is really right and I'm going to have to resign? I raised my hand to look at her, but that simple gesture was already difficult to do. No, I can still hold on. I'm sure of it. I tried to get up from the floor, but after that I became completely dizzy. Okay, so months and weeks have transpired, so that's probably why they're more comfortable together. Lucky I was able to hold on so I didn't fall, even so I was scared. Another thing that you could do to reduce your lethargy is to work out a lot. My legs were trembling along with my arms. However, I decided to go ahead and ignore these warnings. I didn't want to break my promise to her. I didn't want to leave her alone. Maybe Ray would be like, "Good news, everyone. I'm able to successfully, perfectly copy your blood so that we'll never be able to take your blood out again, and it will still be just as fresh as if it was extracted then and there." I grabbed the doorknob and with a great effort opened it. Great effort, for goodness sakes, that's no good. I headed towards the room where the nurses and Ray were usually waiting to fill the blood supplies. At the same time, I thought that in addition to not wanting to abandon her, it was almost pure selfishness. I didn't want to be away from her. I was beginning to need her, to want to know more about her, to want to hear her voice, but I knew this was also killing me. God damn it, man. I sat in my usual chair, a chair that rather than being comfortable, I was beginning to see as an execution chair. The looks on Ray's and the nurses' faces looked more and more worried. What? Why did it suddenly go back? But no one dared mention it, to tell me that my life was hanging by a thread. Obviously I could give up and let someone else take the seat, let someone else's blood run through these tubes. The blood of someone other than my own would feed Serena. I didn't want it to happen. Edgar, your latest analysis. I don't think you need to tell me. It's obvious how I feel, isn't it? Does Miss Serena know? No, I have not let her see me in this state. And when do you plan to tell her? Edgar, you are free to leave at any time. If you do, you could still... Don't go on, Ray. I'm aware of everything and I don't care. I told you that when we first met, don't you remember? I had nothing. So I have nothing to lose if I end up dying here. In fact, I'd be giving my life to someone else. That's a rather, visceral thing to say. That at least my existence has made some sense. What about her? Exactly. How do you think she would feel? He interrupted me, annoyed. What about Serena? Don't you have each other now? Since I have been working in this mansion, I'd seen the lady like a soul in pain in these corridors. Don't you know how much she has changed since you've been with her? Do you? If you don't know, then think about it, Edgar. Think about her too. Of course I think about everything. That's why I'm sitting in this chair. I'm giving my blood, my time, what few energies I have for what I consider important. Her. And if you die, do you think that will cheer her up? Absolutely not. If there's one thing I have learned, it's that time can bury anything, or everything. I watched how the nurses picked up the instruments, so I started to take things off my arms. Can you stand up? Nope. I tried to answer, but I regretted it. I'll take you to your room, but drink plenty of water and rest. If your situation does not become more stable tomorrow, I'll sign your resignation for you. I tried to answer, but I could feel my vision beginning to blur with dizziness. That's what I thought. And now that promise is broken. I closed my eyes and knew that Ray was carrying me on his back to my room. As he laid me on the bed, words came from my lips. Thank you, Ray. I whispered that I would never know if it was heard or not. We was meant to meet up with Serena afterwards, but that kind of didn't happen. When I could open my eyes again, the sun was already setting. I didn't know what time it was. I didn't know how long it had been since I fell asleep. That didn't matter now. Serena, I said quietly as I left for her room. I was mentally prepared to do my best to pretend that everything was completely normal. Okay, excuse me. I walked into the room where Serena usually read, but she's not here. On her table was a large, almost empty bottle. Also a cup that, in other circumstances, anyone might otherwise think would contain a luxurious wine. However, I knew it was my own blood. You finally have come. You don't know how long I've been waiting to have some time alone with you, Edgar. Well, you have me all to yourself, exclusively for my dear Serena. The evening light bathed the whole room with the sweetness and sadness of a childhood memory. The reflections on the crystal glass blinded me when, by mistake, my eyes fell on the glass. And almost as a distant farewell, a flock of birds could be seen on the horizon as they chirped out of sync. I've already told you not to treat me as if I were a rich lady. I know. I pulled back one of the chairs to sit down. She did the same and sat across from me. She leaned her elbows on the table and rested her cheek on her raised hand. For a few seconds she admired the old landscape with the same melancholy that characterized her. There was a faint quiet peace in the air, something that calmed my being, even though I felt that all this was beginning to come to an end like the sun itself that now embraced us in its warmth, and now also began to lose its power. My legs were so tired as to cause me to be out of breath, so sitting here was the best thing I could do to hide my condition from her eyes. Well, what did you do today? I asked to bring up a topic of conversation to break the silence. She looked at me with curiosity and slight annoyance. Wait for you, she said in a somewhat annoyed tone. I knew Serena loved being with me, because even if it didn't seem like it, she enjoyed my jokes, for my witty remarks, and of course, for my way of thinking as well. She loved to debate with me about anything, just to get my opinion on everything. And that's all? I didn't think you had the spirit of an old woman in you. I tried to annoy her. Very funny, Edgar. She pulled my cheek to chastise me for that cruel remark. The truth is that... Yes? I'm worried about you. Again? We've talked about it many times and I've always shown you that I can stand on my own 2 feet. I think Serena is smarter than that, Edgar. You don't have to worry about anything. She turned her head with an even deeper grimace of annoyance on her face. To whom did I really want to lie? I was in a pitiful state. It had been days since I had looked in the mirror, because seeing myself so immaculated was terrifying. But that is why I am here. I cannot run away from my duty, from what I promised her. Of course, I was used to wonder at times why I was so insistent on keeping a life-threatening promise to a girl I didn't know very well. Why was I doing this? I'm just saying I'm worried about you. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. I knew she cared a lot about me, but that might not be the right thing to call it, because in reality what she felt was fear, a deep fear of being hurt by others, or being abandoned and cast aside, as had always happened to her. Perhaps it was cruel to say so on my part, but I knew that I was one of the few people who were committed to making a change, to break that loop in her life of pain, to transform it into beautiful memories that hopefully she could one day look back on with joy. And for this, I had to step on my feet as long as possible. As I have made clear many times before to her, to Ray, and to myself, I was not here against my will. I really wanted to help her. I'm not lying when I said that I enjoy being around Serena, because she's, well, it didn't matter now. Because however incredible and special she was, in the end it was me who was becoming a liar. She looked at me sideways, keeping silence, as if she was judging or suspecting me. Or it could also be my own sense of guilt. Quick, say something! I showed myself to react. Serena, for her part, picked up a half-empty cup with one hand and took a small sip of the contents. After putting it back on the table, she cleaned her lips with her tongue in a semicircular motion. It doesn't bother you? She asked. What should bother me? Me drinking your own blood without any kind of shame in front of you. Doesn't that make you feel like you're some kind of... I don't know. Why should I feel bad about it? I replied. You need to survive, to stay healthy. You shouldn't apologize for being what you are. But it's kind of like you're exchanging one life force for another. I know, but it still seems a bit strange to me. She answered as she played, sliding the tip of her index finger over the rim of her cup. You know, my blood is not the only thing I want to give you. I came here so that you could feed yourself and have a chance to feel better. But that is not all. I began to explain as she looked curiously at me. I don't know how long it's been since we've known each other, and yet I try to give you so much more than just my blood. I try to give you my time, my attention, my friendship, and my heart so that you can heal those wounds yourself. Which wounds are you talking about? The ones that you have deep inside you. The ones you can't talk to anyone about, because they could never understand your pain, but somehow I can. I don't... Ooh. You need not try to hide it any longer with me, Serena. Your eyes often show what you try to hide, and your silence shouts what you try to keep quiet. I know you're hurt. I know you've always been alone, but I also know it won't be forever. And how did you know that? She raised her voice, she banged on the table. Oh dear. I've never had anyone with me, and when I have, they've been gone. She rose from her seat and looked out of the window. What are you supposed to know about how I feel, Edgar? You're right. I don't. But you don't know everything about me either, do you? You don't know what I've been through to get here. Who I was until a few days ago. You don't know that either. And I don't care about that, Serena. Because I made a decision when I saw you. I put all those questions behind me, all my past, to focus on what took my breath away. And that was you. I have no regrets since I met you. And if I had it all, perhaps I would still think I was missing you. I gave you everything I have and am and have, so expecting nothing in return from you. I do it willingly, because I believe it is the right thing to do. Because I think you are worth taking a risk and you deserve it. We all deserve to be trusted and believed in like that. Don't you think? And why did you decide to do it with me? I don't know. Maybe because I saw myself reflected in you. Reflected? We are very different, you and I. No, we're not. We're both afraid. I got up as she did, to stand beside her. I am also afraid of being forgotten. Did you? She looked at me a little puzzled. But you always seem so outgoing to get along with others. What's that got to do with it? That only makes others expect me to be made of steel. Someone who is always cheerful and who makes them forget that inside I am still a broken person. Maybe that's why I saw myself reflected in you, Serena. Because when I saw you walking with such majesty, as if you were an angel among mortals because of your hair as white as purity, no one noticed you. They simply ignored you when I was completely dazzled and spellbound. Perhaps I would have just said dazzled there. And you know what is the best thing? That I wasn't wrong at all. She kept her curious, almost teary-eyed gaze directly on my eyes. She said nothing, but I knew she was anxious about 1,000 things and surrounded by 1,000 fears. I don't regret coming here. I do not regret giving my life for you. Because I don't regret meeting you. You don't understand, Edgar. I don't want you to give your life for me. If you die, what would be left of me then? What I want is to be able to be with you, not for you to sacrifice yourself for me or die because of me. I know. I was trying to find a way to answer her, but I couldn't help feeling like a liar. As if in promising her that I would never leave her side, the remainder that my life was ebbing away caressed me like a poisonous whisper. After a few seconds of abrupt silence, overshadowed only by the squawks of distant animals melting into the light of the horizon, she resumed her restless voice. So, she asked me as if she wanted to put an end to the conversation. Will you stay with me or will you leave? What are you going to do? I won't leave. So, can you promise me? Tell me, Edgar, can you promise me that you will never leave? I swallowed bitterly as a pile of confusion and nervousness formed inside me. I wanted to make that promise to her again, but I knew I shouldn't do it. My time here was perhaps coming to an end, as much as I would like to think otherwise. If I promised to be by her side forever, wouldn't that be a cruel lie? If I hurt her, I would not forgive myself. But at this moment, whatever I said, whatever I did, I knew it would end in something painful for both of us. Still, I had to give her an answer. I had to calm her anxiety and worry. Perhaps at the cost of a big lie, perhaps at the cost of a cruel truth, or who knows? Damn. That is really such a visceral thing to think about, really. Promising that you'll never leave, but you do leave in one way or another, or you can't promise you that. That is an on-the-spot situation, really, for goodness sakes. I can't do it. I can't promise you something like that. Why not? Because we don't control the future, and we don't know what can ever happen. That's why I can't promise you anything. I don't have the courage or the certainty that I will be able to fulfill it. I understand. Although that's not something I expected from you. A grimace of sadness and disappointment took over Serena's face completely. And seeing her like that made me feel disgusted with myself. I didn't want to hurt her or disappoint her, but this was my false truth. I'm starting to feel a bit tired. Do you mind if I go and rest in my room? Of course not. You can go. Taking advantage of the myriad energy I had gained in this brief moment, I pretended to be able to make my own way to my room. But in that same night, something woke me abruptly. My heart was beating hard and fast. My breath was coming out of my body as if it was carrying all my life force, and with it a deep foreboding that this was probably a warning that my body could go no further. The last remnants of life which clung to me were beginning to fade. Serena. I woke up completely dizzy and disoriented. I want to see her. I need to see her. After calming down and concentrating on my breathing for a few minutes, I headed towards her bedroom. As I guided myself with the palm of my hand along the wall of that long corridor, I went looking for her. But why did I want to do that? What was I supposed to achieve? I knew that for me it was too late. Still, maybe for her, it wasn't yet. I knocked on her door. Who is it? It's me. I tried to identify myself without raising my voice too much, because of my lack of strength, so as not to alert anyone else. Edgar, give me a moment. Damn. Hello there. When she opened the door, Serena was in the nightgown she used to wear to sleep, as well as with her reading glasses. What's going on, Edgar? What are you doing here at this hour? I wanted to talk to you a little bit. That's all. Serena took one look at my haggard appearance and knew I was sick. That something was going on, and on this occasion I was the fool for believing that I could go on like this, hiding the truth, that I was dying. All the warnings I ignored turned out to be true. That, despite my stubbornness, I cannot solve everything on my own, and that I am not a man of iron. Come on in. She invited me in as she grabbed my arm to help me walk. None of us mentioned anything about it. I guess by now it was an open secret. I lay back on the bed, still uncovered, while she put her glasses on the table nearby. After that, she went to the window and stared at the moon through the glass. The night light magically enveloped Serena, like a fairy of the forest, like a creature of the darkness. She always looked so stunning in my eyes, but I don't know at what point I fell to my knees in the shadow of the man I once was or wanted to be. What am I supposed to do? I said to myself, after becoming aware of everything that was happening. Why did I find myself accepting my own death in spite of my terror? What have you realized? Of course, all this is because I... Don't get out of bed, Edgar. Please. She rarely asked me for anything, especially not in such a serious way, so I obeyed without hesitation. I'm coming to my end, aren't I? No, she replied firmly. This will not be your farewell, because if you disappear, I will disappear with you. None of that! I shouted, unable to contain my rage at the thought. You can't say such a thing. This is your fault, because you've been so selfish that you haven't thought about me. All the times I asked you to be careful and... She could barely finish speaking without letting another tear down. You're so selfish. You might be right. Damn. Maybe it is my own selfishness that is killing me right now. And that fills me with rage. Because I feel, despite having given you all of me, you have not been able to move further at all. What do you mean? I told you, don't you remember? I came here for you to shine, so that you can be happy in the future. For... Oh dear, spinning too much. I never asked you for anything like this, Edgar. I'm sorry. She came to the side of the bed and took my hand tightly. Does it really make sense for us to discuss this one more time? No, it doesn't. Forgive me. She tried to apologize while gently squeezing my hand. So, I'm dying, right? It seems so. It's not your fault, Serena. I comforted her as I stroked her cheek. Actually, nothing is your fault. I've already told you, but why does it all have to end like this? Is there no other way to... She fell silent as she had realized something. The only thing that will end today, perhaps, is my heartbeat. But you will still be here. And I hope that my time with you has helped you realize something important. Something important? Something like what? You must not hate yourself. You must not fear life, the light. I don't want you to keep running away, no matter how painful it is. You make it look so easy when you know I can't. I know. No, once again you know nothing. You're wrong, because I have seen all of you. Most. I have stayed up late contemplating how the night embraced you, and how the morning repudiated you. I have seen how you have wept slightly, and how you have laughed guiltily. I have seen it all, because without being unable to avoid it, I have gone beyond. Yes, that's why I'm here, Serena. It's because I love you. From the first moment when I was enraptured by you. It is the famous vampire charm? Damn. No, it wasn't. She slowly stroked my head with an affection like that of a mother for a sick child. I finally said it. I love you, Serena. Ever since we met for the first time, I've liked you. And like a madman, I followed you. And as only a blind man in love would do, I followed you to the end of all. However, I suppose it has been my own blind love that has left me in this state. That's it. I was stupid and unaware. I thought I had everything under control. If it came down to me, I would be able to solve anything. That I was going to be different from the others. Do you have to break the fourth wall again like the protagonist of a story? But I was wrong. I'm not a protagonist, yes you are. I'm not a hero, yes you are. I have only been a fool who, with the intention of helping someone, has only ended up deepening their wound. Yes and no. Damn. What did she want to tell me? Or maybe, thank you. I answered without knowing what she really meant. Damn. She hugged me, lifting my body and holding it close to hers. She didn't want me to look directly into her face, but I knew she was crying. This was our farewell, and my consciousness was so blurred to the point that the clear reality was now based on mere supposition. She was trying to tell me, but without finishing the sentence. If I were really a vampire, I could give you a sweet kiss and you'd still be alive. Could something like this be possible? To be honest, I didn't care whether it was true or false either. I felt at complete peace. Drowsiness was beginning to win over my eyelids and the sound seemed further and further away. Edgar? She called out to me in sobs. Her cry as mournful as it was heartbreaking. It was as painful as it was indifferent. I was going to die, wasn't I? Nothing made sense to me anymore. Right? Yes. I could feel that at any moment. I was going to enter into a final sleep. I wanted to use my last seconds to blame her for everything. Damn it. Why would we do that? Blame her for everything. Please. I whispered as I took her hand. Save me. Give me that blood kiss or whatever, but please. I don't want to end up like this. I don't want to die. Help me. I really regret everything. Without a word, she brought her lips to my neck. I could feel her breath, quickened by crying impacting sliding across my skin. Her hair falling chaotically across her face and tears freezing like the creature of the night she was. If that kiss turned me into a monster in exchange for staying alive, I didn't care because I can't. She replied, giving way to an expression of guilt and at the same time destroying all hope within me. I can't do it. I'm afraid. Sir. My hand landed with a thud on the soft mattress. My eyes slowly closed as the drops of her tears slid down on my neck, and she held me even tighter. Maybe she didn't feel the same for me, but why was she holding me so tightly, as if she didn't want me to leave? Why doesn't she save me from the clutches of death? Maybe because she isn't a vampire, but she is a person who needs blood. I'm sorry. Damn. She did feel guilty after all. I wish I'd never met you. What? Wow, really? That was your last thought? End. That was rather conclusive. There are 4 different variations to this outcome, but I'm going to leave the other 3 outcomes for you to decide for yourself by downloading the game for yourselves and wanting you to see what it is that you can discover in your own adventures. I couldn't do it. Edgar has died. He has died in my own arms. He has gone as I clung fearfully to his empty body. As he desperately asked me to save him from the clutches of death, he, who has given everything for me, and I could not correspond to him. I could have saved him a long time ago, but I didn't. I just couldn't do it. As I warned him that afternoon, I am a parasite, a monster that drains the life essence of others until they are consumed, and that has been Edgar's fate. I knew he loved me to the point of going to this extreme, and I didn't avoid it. all because of my own fear. Fear of life, of love, of pain, of everything. Also of the bitter and hard truth. A truth that I never wanted to admit and never wanted to know. This is all my fault, and always has been. I loved him too. I loved him very much, but my voice froze, my body was paralyzed, and my will was broken. The words did not come out of my mouth, nor did my farewell to him, nor did his salvation. Now, I possess only the weight of his dead body, full of my sins. I was never the angelic being he believed me to be. In his perspective, he views you as an angelic being, regardless of what you thought of his views of you. No, not at all. I only was and always will be this, a cowardly monster who lost her heart. All the words I could never say to you, and all the memories that are now tingled with this morning. All this is what I really deserve. Forgive me, Edgar. Forgive me. I'm sorry, Serena. If somehow Serena can get her message to the afterlife, perhaps Edgar could hear that. Perhaps he could hear that. Indeed. Illustration. So there is one locked off. And I imagine that would only come about if we selected some different choices. But I'll leave for you to discover what that illustration would be in your own time. But that is quite a remorseful story in its own way. And I'm not saying that bad because, well, in our lifetimes we need to experience both good and bad things in order to know what is right and wrong. Sometimes good things come about in wrongful scenarios because we learn something from it. But also, we can get bad things from a good experience because it makes us feel insecure and, well, docile? Not docile, that's not the right word, but naive and too open to other people. But that was quite a story in itself, with both the main character being Edgar and Serena being, well, the other main character. I've just noticed that one of her eyes is pink and the other eye is red in the main menu. But I really enjoyed that story. To the developers who made this game, thank you so much for making it, because I've had quite a nice time reading through it and seeing the adventures and the sorrowfulness of both Edgar and Serena. They both subsequently have quite a similar life where they both feel like they're empty in a way, but at the same time, in order to get to that emptiness feeling, both of them had very different paths to get there. One of them through work and family related reasons, and other one through a condition that she was given from the moment that she was born with, or perhaps just genetically she was always needing, or not needing, but she was always destined to be a vampire of sorts, without calling her a vampire. But thank you so much for watching, people. This has been Serena, and we shall see each other's in whatever video may come about in the future. Have a good day, and goodbye for now.